in the beginning, what drew you to Crawlspace?
Well, I read the script and I thought this is kind of like Die Hard meets Home Alone underneath a cabin in the woods. Uh, and it could be really great because it's pretty much a three-hander, you know, get a good actor to play the villain or the villains and, have a compelling lead. And I feel like we did that. It's kind of a fun, uh, it's a fun summer movie, and it was fun for me to play kind of an action hero, or as close to an action hero as I've gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that it's like it's got that combo of Die Hard and Home Alone and stuff. So there's kind of these different tones where it'll be really tense, but there's also some kind of like dark comedy with
Yeah.
how stuff happens. What was it like to balance that tone?
Well, it was fun because, of course, everybody was laughing on set when I said, the zinger of I'm a plumber, I deal with, um, but you never know what the audience is gonna think, So the last thing you want is them to go, oh God, at that moment, so you have to have them by then. And it's really funny because action movies as a genre are pretty formulaic, but the formula works. It's just you have to set it up in a compelling way. And that was the challenge of this, it was not to break the fourth wall too much, but to kind of wink at the audience
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And what was it like to film in that like tight space? Was that difficult?
Yeah, like I'm slightly claustrophobic, so like going into it, I was like, oh, well, I don't know. Is this a good idea? Because I might freak out. But you are the lead in the film, so maybe you should suck it up. And so I did. And then I got down there and they had built the set on a stage. And it wasn't so bad, It was just, it wasn't bad being in there like for an hour or two. What was bad was being in there for 4 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be pretty intense.
That was
Especially
tough.
if you're already claustrophobic.
Well, it was tough on the crew and everybody because nobody could stand up all the way in there
Yeah.
unless you were, a child. You couldn't stand up all the way. So, by like the second week, everybody had these back braces and cool knee pads and elbow pads, and like they're wearing like bike helmets and stuff. And I was the dummy that was like, no, I don't want any knee pads. No, you'll see the knee pads on the. So I looked like I got peppered with some kind of shotgun that fired rubber pellets. Like it looked like I got ambushed in a ravine and somebody just shot me from all angles, like all over my body. I went to the pool with my kids and they were like, oh my God, Dad, what happened to your back? And I was like, what do you mean? And apparently I had like pebble-sized bruises all over my back from rolling it around in the crawl space.
That's intense. That's real commitment right there.
Well, I mean, the thing was, it was like you get beat up doing an action movie, like, because even if it's fake and even if you're like not hitting something like full force or whatever, you're still doing it like 20 or 30 times that day to get the shot or whatever. And the repetition and everything, it just beats you up. Like, plus every time you do a fight scene, you always get hurt somehow, like stunt doubles or no, there's this, like, plus I'm not 22 anymore. So like I really felt this production for weeks afterwards.
That's awesome. That's like I said, that's real dedication right there. Um, so you've been in a lot of, you have a very diverse career, but it seems like from your filmography that you kind of gravitate towards a fair amount of thriller, horror kind of things. Is there something about that genre that really stands out to you?
Uh, it isn't by choice so much as it is by happenstance. Because of my collaboration with Mike Flanagan and his involvement in that genre, I've just kind of over the last few years, that's been the bulk of my work because he's hired me and everything he's done since 2014, pretty much. So it's been great collaborating with him, and I'm excited to see Mike Flanagan film that isn't in that genre, but it's exciting to also have a chance to do things like this, like Crawlspace, and to work outside of that, especially after working in this genre kind of exclusively for so long.
Mhm.
I mean, I've done other things as well in between, but the bulk of my work has been horror, thriller, suspense the last few years.
Nice. Yeah. And one of those roles was you were in Doctor Sleep. Was
Ooh.
it intimidating to kind of have to follow Jack Nicholson?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And Mike called me up and said, "Hey, I have a role for you in this film, but if you don't want to do it, I understand." Which is sort of like the golden hook for me. Like, what do you mean? Like, why would I not want to do it?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what is challenging about this character. And then, so it's kind of the old bait and switch. Like, he'll be like, you probably don't want to do this one. It's too tough. I'll
Yeah.
say, well, what is it, Mike? And then he'll say, oh, well, it's Jack Torrance, but it's not Jack Torrance, but it is Jack Torrance. But, we have to have the hairline like Jack. Uh, you'll have to shave your head, for one day's work. It's like stuff like that. But I was super intimidated to do it. But Mike said, hey, do you want to join me in painting large targets on our forehead? We can do it together. I said, okay. And the rest is history.
That's awesome. It's such a great role too. Like you did really well.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
it's really impressive.
It was it was a very, very talked about, very, you know, it was hashed over quite a
Mhm.
bit. Not just the scene, but my hair and the wig and the whole bit, was very heavily scrutinized. So I was only on set for it's the most work I've done for a character to be on set for such a short time. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty intense, but it was fun, and I think it paid off. Um, and audiences seemed to dig it, which was my biggest concern because I didn't want people to go, it's not Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Who's this flunky, But thankfully, most of them didn't, or the ones that didn't come up and talk to me. So
Yeah, that's good at least. I think that's all I've got time for, but thank you so much for doing this. It's been really interesting.
thank you very much.